So Chemistry Consulting, we're located in Victoria. We do a variety of business consulting, as well as we've contracted with for different government contracts. Again, we created the Room Service Food Service Canada, the Foreign Workers Program. We have had, our expertise is doing different contracts, so we've done economic impact assessments, compensation surveys, financial feasibility studies, business plan, HR reviews, and we've had the privilege of working with different resorts such as Long Beach Lodge, Wickinninish, and Pacific Sands. Christine Stoneman and Frank Burry are two of the three owners of the company, and they would be considered tourism gurus in Victoria and area. And we, in the last 4 years, we've written the provincial tourism strategies for BC, as well as we do a monthly tourism bulletin for Victoria and Nanaimo Mid-Island. So we are definitely involved in the tourism industry, hospitality industry. We also do some IT work. And again, in our government expertise, sorry, go ahead. We were the program administrators for the WTIP program, which Gord talked to me a little bit about. So there was a pool of money that was made available to small businesses to assist with training their employees. It was very successful, and the money ran out very quickly. So unfortunately, I think some employers who were hoping to take advantage of it weren't able to. That pilot has since ended because the money was well spent. And we were involved because we were given the contract to administer the funds. So employers would contact us with their applications. They would choose who they did their training. That wasn't part of what we did. They essentially came to us and rewrote them a check, which is kind of a nice position to be in. People like you when you give them money, right? Just for interest's sake, we had 16 employers in Tofino or Ucluelet that received funding with a total of over $41,000 and 78 employees taking place. They haven't given us an indication of whether or not this program will be recreated or another fund of money will be made available, but certainly if it does, we will let you know. We would have to be chosen as the contractors, but again, this funding may become available. Great opportunity to get some money to train staff, which it doesn't cost you anything, which is always kind of nice to have, right? As part of our wearing our tourism hat, in 2006 and 2007, we were facing a fairly major labor shortage, especially in the hospitality tourism industry. So Chemistry Consulting got together with the British Columbia Hotel Association and the BCRFA, as well as the British Columbia Lodging and Camping Association, and we created a program called Room Service Canada and Food Service Canada. And that was in response to some very major labor shortages that were being faced by different hotels and restaurants. The reality was they just couldn't find Canadians to do the work. So we came on board and created a Foreign Workers Services. Once we got started, we paired up with Go2, and they also liaison with Service Canada, so they assist us if we have any issues with trying to work through the process of hiring foreign workers. And additionally, after we started the foreign workers, we worked with the provincial government to do an MOU, which is a memoranda of understanding with the Philippines. So trying to get an understanding together on how we would bring workers in and what happened to them when they got here. And then we also wrote a manual to look at other potential source countries. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some labor shortages that we anticipate facing again. And then I'm going to just show you some smiling, happy faces of workers that we brought to the Tofino area. So when we got started, they did a survey, and they looked at where are the shortages, what are the realities of not being able to find staff to work at my resort or to work in my restaurant. And so when we did that, staffing over the last 12 months, in 2006, 2007, what we got back was that staffing increased or stayed the same. Hardest positions to fill, room attendants. So probably not a big surprise. Although we do find there's a direct correlation between people going back into the construction trade and cooking for some reason. So I'm either a cook or I work in the construction industry. But when construction goes up, the cooks disappear. So it has a trickle-down effect for lots of different businesses. So hotels were in very desperate need of staffing, so we started the foreign workers program. Again, toughest jobs to fill: housekeepers, cook, chef, and night auditors. Or employees were losing their staff because they're being taken by other companies. So if I was short-staffed, I would sort of start poaching employees from other companies, offering them better incentives or more money, which again sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. The reality was making it very difficult to have a core group of staff. The cost for training and finding staff was going through the roof, and so employers needed some assistance with their staffing levels. If you've ever looked at trying to hire a foreign worker, there's a process that you have to go through. You have to apply to Service Canada for something called a labour market opinion. So you have to show that you've tried to hire Canadians, you haven't been successful in finding qualified people to fill your staffing needs, and Service Canada basically has to say, yes, you're welcome to hire a foreign worker. There's some myths or inappropriate information. Some people think that we're stealing jobs from Canadians or that foreign workers don't get paid as well. Not true. So we have to really show that we have made an effort to hire Canadians and that we have some very serious labor shortages. Okay, so that's sort of the first part. There's an employment contract that goes with that. As part of your obligation to the foreign worker, you have to pay their first 3 months of medical, and you're responsible for their transportation to Canada. Okay? Go ahead. Once they arrive, where are they going to live? How are they going to settle into the community? We worked with several different resorts in Tofino and brought the first group of Filipinos here. And if you're familiar with the group, there's many Filipinos in your Tofino community now, and I'm very pleased to say they're very, very happy to be here. We went through a big dip in 2007, and then things sort of got better in the last year or so, but they anticipate that the labor shortages are going to come back. We work with employers in Alberta, and I talked to a general manager at one of my hotels the other day, and he was doing laundry because they didn't have enough staff. So we do think that, again, the reality is going to be that soon we're not going to have enough workers to fill the labor gaps that we're going to be facing. So you can have if you have a labor shortage and you can't find any Canadians, your choice is to go through the process yourself. It can be a little bit daunting and a little bit frustrating, is what I've learned from some of the businesses I've worked for. You can work with a recruitment company or an immigration lawyer. That all costs money. If someone comes to you and they offer you their services for a very little amount of money, chances are it's too good to be true. And unfortunately, we do hear about reports of foreign workers that have been taken advantage of when they've been brought to Canada, and sort of unscrupulous employers kind of ruin it for the rest of us because the workers end up being not paid what they're supposed to, or not doing the work they're supposed to, or living in terrible conditions, and that's just not what the program is about. Okay? Breaking it down, if I hired some room attendants over a 2-year period, my cost would be about 40 cents extra per room. So if it means that I have a consistent staffing and a core group of staff people, that 40 cents could be incredibly valuable to me. Okay? So again, there is a process. You apply for a labor market opinion. Once you've been approved by Service Canada, you then have to find your workers. So wherever your workers are coming from, whether that be the Philippines or Mexico or Jamaica or wherever it is that you want to get your workers from, or if you don't care, the best qualified workers, you have to go through getting them a temporary work visa. So we bring in a lot of workers from the Philippines. They're pre-screened, we pre-screen them, and they have hotel and restaurant management degrees. So most of them have post-secondary education and/or experience. So we're not talking just sort of anybody who can qualify to come to Canada. The embassy at country of origin will look at the applicant and say, are they qualified to do the job? What is the job offer? How much are they being offered as wages? And then once they come into Canada, the immigration officer in Vancouver, if that's where they're coming into, will also look at the job offer, and they ultimately make the final decision. So they really do make sure that this person coming in is qualified to do the work that they're being offered. Yeah.